For the first time since the inception of my YouTube channel, I bought a bike that I had no intention of telling you guys about. That is strange because I usually make a video about whatever bike I buy within a week or two of getting it. And I've had this particular bike for 2 months now. And last week, this one secret bike turned into 2 secret bikes, which understandably caused a lot of curiosity when they quietly featured in my other videos without any explanation. So, I think it's time I tell you about my secret bikes.
December 3rd, 2021. That was the last time I uploaded a dirt bike video, 10 months ago. At the time, I had my 2008 Yamaha YZ250 two-stroke, which I absolutely loved. I'd put a lot of work into it, rebuilding the top end and having the cylinder repaired and recoated. I changed out all the chain sliders, sprockets and chain, and even got the prized possession for any two-stroke, a Smart Carb SC2.
But then 2 things happened. Firstly, I decided to stop making dirt bike videos altogether because I realized that I'd spent years building up a road bike audience who understandably had no interest in watching a noob do dirt bike things. And I haven't changed my mind. I'm gonna cram all the dirt bike updates into this video and then it's back to normal.
The second thing that happened was that I got to ride my mate's YZ250F and absolutely loved how easy the 4-stroke was to ride. It was so encouraging to push, in fact, I crashed it. Don't get me wrong, I loved my 2-stroke. It taught me more than any other bike I've ever owned. But I felt like I was flying on my buddy's 4-stroke because I could use engine braking. It had a predictable linear power band and everything from the suspension to brakes were just newer. So I already knew then and there that I wanted a 250F instead.
But instead of selling my 2-stroke and buying a 4-stroke, I just stopped riding dirt bikes altogether.
It was around the time that my dirt bike videos weren't getting enough views to justify them. So I decided to upgrade my 390 Duke to an MT-09 so I could focus on road bike videos again. And I kind of just enjoyed being back on a big road bike. I slowly stopped riding my YZ and eventually I sold it. A stupid move, I know. It had some brilliant things on it and was in great condition. But either way, I wanted to sell it, whether it was for a 250F or just because I stopped riding off-road. So for about 6 months, I was content with my MT-09, loving life being back on a big bike and never thinking about dirt bikes at all. I stopped binging motocross YouTube videos, sexy Instagram race bikes, and ultimately went cold turkey.
However, then the last bike I ever expected to enter my life did, a Kawasaki KLR 650.
They're famous for being terrible. So I bought one to make a video about it. And despite being an absolute pig of a bike, it was fun in the last place I expected, off-road. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't big air and massive whips, but even the gentle trails I took it on were rather enjoyable. And just like that, I was back on the dirt bike train, back to binging motocross YouTube videos and sexy Instagram race bikes. So I did exactly what you'd expect and went straight online to look for my dream dirt bike, a Yamaha YZ250F, just like the one I'd ridden and loved 6 months earlier.
So I went out and bought this. It's heavy, okay? It's heavy. That's right, a 2015 Yamaha YZ450F. 200 cc's more than I'd planned on, and pretty much the worst bike for an amateur like me to have. But trust me, it wasn't for a lack of trying. But the 250s sell very quickly because everyone loves them. So I ended up buying this on a spur of the moment impulse buy, and this is the white YZ you've been seeing in my videos. It wasn't just my 2-stroke with white plastics. I mean, it looks awful. I'm not a big fan of these white and red ones to begin with, but to make it even worse, the previous owner sucked at washing it. So all the white plastics have been stained yellow from mud over the years, they're severely scratched all over, and the rear fender even has a crack in it. But mechanically, it's 100%. It has about 120 hours on it, the motor has never been opened, but it doesn't backfire, it's very easy to start, and even the brakes, chain and sprockets are good to go. Overall, it runs very cleanly. Because I never planned on making a video about this, I don't have much footage riding it at all, but it wasn't nearly as bad as you might expect. 450s are often heavily criticized for having way too much power for about 90% of riders, to the point where they can actually be dangerous. And yes, it does have way more power than I can use, but the cool thing that they don't tell you about is that you don't have to use all that power. You can often do an entire lap of a motocross track in just one gear. I could get away with being in second gear for an entire lap because in the slow speed corners, it has enough grunt to lug itself out of there, and in the higher speed sections, it's just revving higher. It's the ultimate lazy bike. It's also so much fun just to mess around on because you just slightly crack the throttle and the front wheel comes up. I also didn't really notice the extra weight because I hadn't ridden any dirt bike in 6 months, and it's still lighter than an MT-09. But instead of making the 450 look good, I carried on looking for a 250 because that was still the dream bike. And 2 months later, I finally found this. A 2019 Yamaha YZ250F, way newer and nicer than I was planning on, but I got seriously lucky with it.
It's the first year the Yamaha 250's got electric start. It's only done 49 hours in total and has a brand new top end, so it's practically new. But the coolest feature is the Yamaha Power Tuner app. The bike has a Wi-Fi module under the back left panel, so you can connect your phone to it. Then the app lets you see how many hours the bike has on it and lets you set reminders to change the oil or piston at whatever intervals you set it to. You can also monitor the revs, battery level and coolant temp, among other things, and the fanciest feature is that you can just send different engine maps to your bike for different terrain or modifications.
Like, how isn't that a thing on street bikes yet? And unsurprisingly, this was 10 times more fun to ride on the motocross track than the 4Fatty.
For starters, I can use way more of the power, and it's not as overwhelming as the 450. You're constantly going up and down through the gears, which makes you feel fast, and the lack of weight makes it feel nimble in comparison. It made me remember exactly why I wanted this bike in the first place, however many months earlier.
So there you have an update on my dirt bikes. But there is one more thing that we need to cram into this update video. We need to make the 250 look factory.
I did try to be smart about this, so that I didn't have to put on all the graphics myself. To complete the look I was going for, I needed to replace the white rear side plastics, front number plate and fork protectors with blue ones. So I ordered them through the graphics company and asked them to put those stickers on for me. The hardest one is the exhaust side, because it has to curve around the pipe and then bubbles are inevitable. But the pros did it far better than I would have. The base design is supposed to be like the Star Racing Yamaha kit with a matte finish, but instead of the Monster logos, it's my logo. Because I'm not much of a Monster fan, but naturally I am a fan of my own logo. I also asked for YouTube logos since it's a pretty big part of my life, and Insta360 because I've worked with them quite a bit and love their cameras. And finally, the number 847.
You see, I don't have a favorite number or a favorite rider whose number I could borrow. So instead of overthinking it, I got creative.
So 847 is the exact displacement of my MT-09. It's not really a 900 like the name suggests, but I do think it's a cool number, pays tribute to my MT-09, and looks awesome.
But anyway, that's it. Hit the like button if you made it this far. Let me know which one of these three is your favorite and what you think of my new graphics, and I'll see you on the next ride.